Hello there! This is LEGO Dynasty, and today I'm bringing you guys my review of the LEGO Marvel Studios Infinity Saga Iron Man Armory. It is set number 76216, comes with 496 pieces, is rated ages 7 and up. Now this set retails in the United States for $89.99 and in Canada for $119.99, though I should note that I have seen it on LEGO.com for the prices of $62.99 US and $83.99 Canadian. So keep that in mind. Definitely a set to look out for sales, as I definitely feel the sales make the set quite a bit more worth than its original retail price. Now that being said, let's start off this review with the box. So overall, I gotta say, I really like the box art design of this set. It definitely looks pretty cool. You have Thanos in the top corner with the Infinity Gauntlet, which makes sense. Avengers logo in the bottom right there. Now, this set, to me, is primarily taken from Iron Man 2, with, to me, some sort of references to Iron Man 3, specifically with the, Hall of Armor type deal, because I don't believe we saw this many suits of armor in Iron Man 2. I could be wrong. If I am, I apologize. But as far as I'm aware, this set is primarily inspired from Iron Man 2, with some aspects of Iron Man 3 included. Now, with that being said, definitely cool to get quite a few different Iron Man variations. With quite a few characters, of course. Taking a look at the back of the box, you can see one of the other orientations of the set you can make with the Hall of Armor, which is pretty nice. Now, this is definitely a set you could technically buy multiples of, and display your different Iron Man figures that you've gotten in other sets over the years, which would be pretty cool, I have to say. But even then, I still think this is a pretty nice set and a decent number of Iron Man armors included. As you can see, you have the car with the sort of Stark Expo design that Tony gets during Iron Man 2. Some other nice designs with the workshop, and of course his sort of armory station where he gets his armor placed onto him. Pepper and Nick Fury there, and that's basically it. Quickly taking a look at the manual. As you can see, rendered image. To me, I don't think the rendered images look too great, but at the end of the day, they don't take anything from the build-in experience, and pretty generic manual, though you do have some advertisement of some LEGO Marvel sets in the back. Now, for a set with 496 pieces, you're left with quite a few extras, in my opinion. Like, as you can see, quite a few studs. You got the lightsaber hilt, some other cool parts like a saw blade and whatnot. And yeah, just some really nice pieces. Even the little, sort of mini characters that they sometimes use for like the mini Ant-Man, etc. Or trophies and whatnot. Definitely some very cool extra pieces, I have to say. Taking a look at our first minifigure, we have Pepper Potts. So this is actually the second version of the character, and really the second minifigure I got, as I actually purchased this minifigure from Bricklink a while ago, because I didn't know if I was going to get this set, but I wanted a Pepper Potts minifigure, so now I have two of them, which is kind of funny. But even then, this is still a pretty nice Pepper Potts minifigure, as you can see with the double face print there with her smiling versus her sort of in more mad and fighting mode, I guess. Nice sort of suit that she is wearing. Definitely a very nice Pepper Potts minifigure. Our next character is Nick Fury, featuring some very nice leg printing, going to sort of represent his trench coat. Definitely wish they included those old sort of LEGO trench coats they used to do, but in the end they obviously have chosen to do more printing versus cloth pieces nowadays. Still, the back printing is pretty generic, but looks okay, and even has the sort of wraparound slightly to represent the eye patch. I mean, there is the little sort of space on both sides, so it's not 360, which is probably the next step in LEGO's printing that they'll want to do, in my opinion. It's getting some more 360-degree prints, but even then, still pretty standard Nick Fury face print, and it looks pretty good. Looking at our next minifigure, we have Tony Stark, and overall, I gotta say, pretty nice figure as well. Generic gray legs, but a very nice torso print, which is pretty unique. Back printing is pretty basic, as you can see, just with some lines, and then does have the sort of HUD display for his back of his face. Our next character is Whiplash, which is a very nice minifigure, and to me, probably the standout of the set in terms of the design. I think he just looks outstanding here, as you can see, with the toe printing, the leg printing, torso print looking awesome. No arm printing, but even then, the back torso print looks really cool. And of course, he has his electro whips, which is just these chains in a translucent blue, which looks really cool in my opinion. The back of his face print is him more angered in my mind versus him smirking, you know, from when he sort of beats Tony at the racetrack in Iron Man 2. Now, even though you're given the sort of ponytail piece, you also are given his helmet piece, which is pretty nice. As you can see, looks very cool like that on Whiplash. Taking a look at our next character, we have the Iron Man Mark 85 armor. Now, what's interesting about this character is it has a translucent head, as you can see, so you can actually, basically what you're supposed to do is put Tony Stark's regular head onto each character with the HUD display. Now, of course, I won't do that with each character, but pretty nice that they gave you these sort of generic face or like translucent faces. Pretty kind of cool that they're doing that. Definitely gives me hope that they might one day do some Lego Star Wars Force Ghosts in the future. When it comes to the Mark 85 armor, it looks very awesome, I have to say. Really love the design. Also has some nice detail. Does have this sort of back propulsion system that you can, of course, pop off to reveal the back printing, which again looks really nice as well there. Our next minifigure included is War Machine. James Rhodes, of course, does have James Rhodes' face print, which is pretty nice. Only one-sided face print, though, which is kind of interesting in my mind, but still looks pretty good overall. And this is still a very nice printed figure. He has his sort of minigun on the back there, as you can see. Great leg printing as well. No arm printing, which is really the only main thing that I think is missing from all these Iron Man characters is the lack of arm printing, especially in a set that is as expensive as it is. Definitely feels like Lego could have included the arm printing for these characters. Now popping off War Machine's sort of minigun, kind of as it is sort of a new piece, can be fun. But you can see his back printing there, looks very nice as well. And of course, minigun is sort of the standard build that you expect. Looking at our next Iron Man minifigure, we have Iron Man Mark 25. So this is a pretty nice design, and definitely one of the designs that I feel was in Iron Man 3. Haven't seen that movie in a while, but I feel like I remember seeing this. It again has a translucent head, which you can swap with Tony Stark's head if you want Tony to be in this character. He does have these sort of cool claw arms, or like hammer arms. I don't know what you call them, but they look really cool. Moving them just so you can see the torso and leg printing a little bit better, which looks very good as well. Back printing, as you can see, has this nice sort of shoulder plating as well. Looks very cool. Very cool Iron Man armor character. Now there is one more Iron Man character, but the cool thing is it's sort of separated into different aspects of the build. So we'll go through that as we go through the set. Now we'll start off with some of the random side builds. Now take a look at our first little side build. We have the tool shelf, tool shed, whatever you want to call it. Has some nice designs, as you can see. You have a what appears to be like a little Iron Man trophy on Tony's thing here. You have the light, which can be moved, wrench and drill. You can open these up, but there is nothing in any of them. Of course, you can place some studs or some other parts if you wanted to sort of imagine that something is inside it, but it's still pretty basic build and pretty nice to have included. Next, we have some more sort of builds for Tony to work on his sort of Iron Man suits, as you can see. I believe this is sort of to represent the chest piece that Tony uses to build his new armor in Iron Man 2. Next, we have the little robot that helps Tony that he, you know, has a sort of love-hate relationship with during the films. And he looks pretty cute. I forget his name, I apologize. But he was just a random build, or random sort of robot that we see in the Iron Man films. And then also in Spider-Man No Way Home, as he becomes Happy's sort of robot pal after what happens in Endgame. but still pretty generic design. It has some ball joints, so you can do some nice maneuvering. Next up, we'll take a look at the car itself, and it's a pretty basic sort of Lego sports car. Of course, you can have Tony driving the vehicle. It's smaller than what you'd see in like a Speed Champion set, but I think overall it works pretty well. As you can see Tony with his head driving, so pretty nice. It does move quite well on smooth surfaces, as you can see, so you have that going for it. And the one main feature of the car is it has the space to display the pieces from the Stark Expo. Overall, pretty nice, I have to say. I think it looks pretty cool. Having these sort of parts represented there. I believe in the film there was more. I think there was 4 sections versus the 3 that they managed to fit here. But I think overall they did a pretty good job of representing what they wanted to from the scene. Now, these are all sticker pieces that you apply, so you want to sort of display it in the correct orientation, which I believe is in this orientation, as you can see, and you actually do have a table space that you can place these onto, which we'll show off in a second. So this is one of the other tables, and as you can see, we have the Iron Man Mark III armor helmet, as we have the Mark III legs and the sort of head and sort of torso piece used in other aspects of the build. Again, as you can see, it has the translucent head there, and you have some other parts that you can just pop off, and basically what you can do. So I believe it is in this orientation. I apologize if it's meant to be in a slightly different one, but this generally is what it would look like if you wanted it like that. I personally tend to just leave it inside the vehicle, as I think it looks kind of cool, as I remember that scene. It's not like it's a truly iconic scene from the MCU, but it's a scene I really remember from Iron Man 2, so I like to sort of represent that. And then you can place your other parts back on. Now, of course, you have a little chair, one piece here, for Tony to sit at his workstation with. And then finally you have this sort of last workstation. You have the nice sort of sticker pieces on here to represent the different sort of translucent designs of Tony's computer screens. You have a coffee mug, and then again, as you can see, you have the torso that Tony is working on for the Mark III armor. Has a black head instead of a translucent head, which I think makes sense as Tony is working on it. And then you also have some designs and plans on this nice little sort of blue pieces to represent, I guess, blueprints, which I think looks pretty cool. Overall, as you can see, it is 8 sections that you can play around with. You are given some translucent pieces to represent armor that isn't currently there, but you can pretend are designs for. So as you can see right here, we have this design armor with nanotech, so obviously a reference to Avengers Endgame when he uses nanotech. And then you have image of the Silver Centurion, which you might not be able to see, but it actually says at the top there. And then you have the reconstruction on the bottom, which I believe is to represent the very first armor that Tony made, as it has the, you know, signature helmet and pieces from that first armor. So I guess Tony is looking to rebuild that armor to add to his collection. The other spaces are kind of left blank. You do have this these parts here with the stud shooter, fire extinguisher, and sort of another section that you can sort of play around with if you wanted to place other armors instead. And again, you can pop these out, which we can do. I'll just show off the Silver Centurion. As you can see here, yeah, I guess you can see the writing a little bit better there, but you can see the sort of design and looks pretty cool. Of course, if you didn't want to have these in here, if you had other Iron Man armors that you want to add yourself, you don't have to place these in. These can just go off to the side somewhere else, like that, for instance, and you have that extra room, which is pretty nice. But overall, in the end, you're given essentially 8 spaces for your Iron Man armors, and of course, in this set, you only get 4 of them included, so obviously it's meant to give you options. If you have other Iron Man sets with other versions of Iron Man armor, you can include it in this set. Of course, as you saw earlier, I had War Machine on display as well as the Mark 25 armor. But if you wanted to place one of the others instead as well, you can. Of course, you have to be sort of cognizant of what items they have on them. So in this case, the Iron Man Mark 85, his sort of propellers, or whatever you want to call those, are sort of in the way. So you just pop that off, and then you have this extra space here with the stud that you can place this on instead, and you're good to go. Now, like I said, you also have the Mark III armor, which you can pop these off. Iron Man Mark III armor looks like that. Pretty nice to have that included, just in separate pieces that you can, of course, rebuild, and would look like that on display. Now, like I was showing earlier, you can, of course, pop these off on the top and have them attach at a different point. So in this case, you can have it attach at the bottom like so if you wanted to, which again is just great aspects of customization. You can really play around with it. Pop it off and you can place it back on top, of course. Like, I really love that you can have different levels of customization, and it definitely was meant to be bought with other like multiple of, in my mind, or even if you had the old version, I think it sort of would fit. I think it was slightly different design, so you'd have to do some playing around, but you could attach it to the older design for the old Iron Man Armory, which was released set a couple of years ago. Now, really, the main drawback was its original retail price for me for the Iron Man Armory. At $89.99 US, 120 Canadian dollars, I think this set was definitely way overpriced for what it gave you in the end, because this is quite a lot of, you know, small builds sort of thrown into one build, essentially. I almost would have loved if they, you know, included it on like a base plate, you know, built it onto that instead of how they designed it here, because I definitely feel like had they done that, it might have been a little bit nicer, a little bit more organized. Because right now, as you can see, it's really spread out overall, and it's nice to have that creativity, but I wish it was a little bit more like set up in that sense. But like I said, I have seen it recently on sale for about 20 to 30% off. Probably will go cheaper on other sites as well. I don't believe this was a Lego exclusive by any stretch of the imagination, so I could probably pick it up at, I believe, Amazon for Canadians, and presumably other places in the United States or wherever you live as well. Still, I do think this is a good set, especially to pick up on sale. That's when I personally picked it up, when it was on sale and double points, so I double dipped in that sense and got extra money back, and it for what I feel was a much more fairer price. Even then, I still feel like this set was very expensive, and I can understand why some people might have passed on it, but I still think at a lower price, it is definitely worth it, and is a very cool concept of a set that I think just had some minor things really holding it back from being a truly great set. With that being said, that's all my opinion. Let me know your thoughts on the Lego Iron Man Armory in the comments down below. Have you guys picked up this set yet, or are you planning to while it's on sale? Or are you guys planning to pass on it before it retires? Please leave a like and subscribe if you have enjoyed, and have a great day, everyone.